Police call it a tragic fall, but the family of the 19-year-old Texas A&M student is sounding the alarm. They are convinced she didn't just fall, she was murdered. Police in Austin, Texas, say they have no evidence that suggests at this point that Brianna Aguilera's death is suspicious, and today they are speaking out.
Sometimes the truth doesn't provide the answers we are hoping for.
But Brianna's family is swinging back with strong words of their own and a high-powered lawyer. We're on the case, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, before we move on, we need to talk about the single biggest financial development that is shaping everything we know about money. Central banks are hoarding and purchasing physical gold at a pace we have not seen in decades. Gold is up 40% in the past year, and experts say it's not stopping. So, how do you get in without dropping thousands up front? Acre Gold makes it simple to own physical gold without expense, with subscriptions from $30 to $250 per month. Anyone can start by making monthly payments at your own pace. When you reach the price of your bar, Acre Gold ships it to your door. Real gold that you can have, save, or pass down. Secure your wealth and take control of your future. Start today at getacregold.com/onthecase. Big updates today in the case of Brianna Aguilera. Austin police held a news conference in hopes of clearing up criticism and speculation about her death.
Inaccurate information has circulated and been reported, and that has led to additional harm of innocent people, bullying included, and their families. There have also been statements suggesting the police have failed to do our jobs. Those statements are not accurate. I understand how grief and the need for answers can raise intense emotions and many questions. But sometimes the truth doesn't provide the answers we are hoping for, and that is this case. Please know that careful investigations take time. We must interview witnesses, collect evidence, and piece together facts. Releasing partial information too early can jeopardize the integrity of that case.
That is the Austin police chief pushing back on claims that Brianna's death was a homicide. This news conference included some new bombshell information that police say is proof that Brianna's life was not taken by someone else. Now, before I get into those details, I want to walk through the new timeline that we have about what happened to Brianna last Friday. Aguilera, a 19-year-old student at Texas A&M, was in Austin, which is about 2 hours away from her college, for a big football game. It was between her school, Texas A&M, and the University of Texas. That game on Friday kicked off in the evening, 6:30 Central Time. Police say they have pieced together the final day of Brianna's life, and they say it paints this picture. So they say, first off, around 4 or 5 p.m., she attended a tailgate, and it was at the Austin Rugby Club, and she was at that tailgate till about 10 o'clock at night. Police say that she became so drunk at that event that she was asked to leave.
Witnesses stated that after Brianna was asked to leave the tailgate, she had repeatedly dropped her phone and staggered into a nearby wooded area where her phone and other items were later located by Austin police. Just after 4 p.m. on Saturday, November 29th, officers from the scene paged homicide to inform them that they had located the property belonging to Brianna and determined that there was also a separate deceased person call with the same name.
So what you just heard there is police also pushing back on a claim that was made by Brianna's mom in a Fox News interview, where she claims that someone had thrown her daughter's phone into the woods. Now, we're going to have more on what Brianna's mom is saying in just a moment. Police say that after Brianna was asked to leave that tailgate, she then went with a group of people to this apartment complex in Austin, and that's actually where she was staying with friends for the weekend. She allegedly arrived at the apartment building at 11 o'clock at night. The apartment that she was staying in with friends is on the 17th floor. Now, police say at 12:30 in the morning, most of the people in that apartment had left, and remaining were 3 girls who were staying at that apartment. Now, police say at around 12:43, Brianna borrowed a friend's phone to call a boyfriend who lives out of town. Police say they have confirmed that that phone call happened. They say 2 minutes later, roughly, a 911 call was made from someone on the street who heard a loud thud and then discovered Brianna on the ground. Police say the next day, they interviewed the 3 girls who were in the apartment, and they also notified Brianna's mom of her daughter's death. Police say the girls in the apartment had called 911 around noon on Saturday to report that Brianna was missing. They couldn't find her. Police say some of those girls were sleeping. Some of them had assumed that Brianna had left to go see some other friends as the apartment cleared out for the evening. Now, Brianna's mom had also called on Saturday saying that she could not get in touch with her daughter. She called 911 in Austin. She also said that her daughter's phone showed her location in a wooded area where police say they eventually found her phone. So now we get to what police believe is a very difficult reality to this story that they say proves that this was not a homicide. This is what they claim they found on Brianna's phone.
A further review of Brianna's phone shows a deleted digital suicide note dated Tuesday, November 25th of this year, which was written to specific people in her life. From the moment this call originated up until now, between all of the witness statements, all of the video evidence, and all of the digital evidence collected, at no time did any evidence point to this being anything of a criminal nature. Rather, our investigation has revealed that unfortunately Brianna had made suicidal comments previously to friends back in October of this year. This continued through the evening of her death with some self-harming actions earlier in the evening and a text message to another friend indicating the thought of suicide. We recognize that hearing news like this can be difficult and may affect members of the community in very personal ways.
Now, that is certainly not easy to hear. It's incredibly sad to hear that from police, and you have to imagine it's incredibly difficult for the family of Brianna Aguilera to hear those things. But again, they're continuing to push back on this, and we're going to get into that part of the story in just a moment. But I want to continue on with what police are putting out right now, because police say it isn't often that they will share information like this publicly, but because of the amount of attention that this case is getting, they felt like it needed to be released. Now, as we've been saying, Brianna's mom from the very beginning, she has been very vocal, claiming that her daughter was murdered. She says that her daughter was planning to become a lawyer after going to Texas A&M. A&M was her dream school. Her daughter, in the words of her mom, was living her best life. Her mom also says that the people inside the apartment, where there was about 15 people who had gone to this after party after the game, she claims that police gave them the opportunity to get their stories straight so they could cover up something beyond what police are now saying. She also, Brianna's mom, has claimed that Brianna was in a fight the night of her death, and that has led to a lot of speculation online. Her mom posted a TikTok video from someone who claims that he saw a fight that night that could be related to Brianna's death. The detective who is in charge of this case, he was actually asked about that after he gave his initial statement during this news conference, and this is what he said.
There have been online reports of a fight. The only evidence that we have of any kind of physical altercation was Brianna punching one of her friends as they tried to help her out of the party. We have no evidence of any other altercation.
Police also say that no one witnessed Brianna going over the railing of the apartment. In response to this news conference, Brianna's mom posted this on Facebook. She shared a TV station stream of that news conference from police, and this is what she captioned, quote, "Please don't believe this lazy investigator and investigation. Tony Busby will get us the justice we need." Here is what the detective said when he was asked about Brianna's mom and whether she was given the details that we have heard today in that news conference.
I was in contact with Brianna's mother beginning Saturday afternoon. We spoke through Sunday and Monday through the meeting here. Since then, I've attempted 4 times to contact her. I wanted to share this information privately. She did not reply to any of my attempts to talk to her until yesterday afternoon, where she asked me to talk to her lawyer. So I have not been in contact with her mother. However, her father I have been in contact with. He knows all of this information as of yesterday.
Brianna's mom's lawyer is Tony Busby, who's a major name in legal representation. He has several high-profile cases, including dozens of lawsuits that he has brought on behalf of plaintiffs accusing Sean Diddy Combs of sexual misconduct. Yesterday, he announced he is representing Brianna's mom and dad. In a social media post, he said in part, quote, "This was certainly not a suicide. This family deserves straight answers. We hope we can help them get those answers." Busby says he is going to hold a news conference on Friday at his office on this case. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about what Tony Busby could mean for this case is Rich Schoenstein, trial lawyer. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. What stands out to you that Tony Busby specifically is now getting involved?
Well, we all know Busby. He's a very high profile attorney. He does a lot of sort of negligence cases. He also has been involved in a lot of the civil litigation against Diddy and cases like that. So he is tenacious. He's going to dig into this matter and see where the facts lead him, find out who he can possibly sue. He's the type of lawyer who will sue everybody that he can possibly tie these events to, if there's any way to tie them to. If there's a lapse of security somewhere, he may go after an entity, or obviously if there are individuals who are involved, he can go after them. He can pursue the insurance policies for whoever's involved. He has a lot of different directions he can take this. He has the skill to do it, the experience to do it, and the resources to do it.
Because, at this point, a major, I guess, target of criticism is the police department in Austin. And a lot of that is because Brianna Aguilera's mom has been incredibly vocal in interviews, posts on Facebook, saying that she believes that this was not an accident. She claims that police had originally told her that it was either an accident or a suicide, and that seemed to really, frankly, make her angry. And she says that there's more to it. She believes that this was a murder. Police have said this is not a homicide. For Tony Busby and his experience, is this something where the police department becomes a target in some way of his approach in representing the family?
The police department could be a target if he thinks they're covering something up. I mean, this doesn't sound like a case where the police department was involved directly in the death. But if he thinks they're doing a sloppy job of investigating, or he thinks they're covering up something or covering for some person or entity, then they could become a target. And Busby is not the kind of guy who's going to be intimidated and put off by law enforcement. He's going to keep digging even if law enforcement tells him they think they're satisfied.
Because I think, too, of from a civil side of it, and we'll see how this goes, if this was an accidental fall from, whatever evidence comes forward, and police certainly believe that's the case, falling 17 stories, she's in an apartment building, she's 19, and if she was, her mom had suggested that perhaps she was drunk. I mean, let's face it, she was at a big college football game, night game, might have been out there throughout the day, ingesting alcohol. I mean, when you have an attorney like Tony Busby and the way that he approaches things, and he is not a small-time lawyer that has limited resources, and he wants to really flex his muscles on this, I think of the apartment building, if she got into a bar in Austin, I mean, what are the type of targets that he could be looking at for this family?
Everybody she encountered that day as a starter. So I bet he's tracking her whole day, from wake up until this tragic event. Where did she go? Who did she see? What did she do? If she drank alcohol, where did she get it from? Is there potential liability? You mentioned a bar. That's a great question. Was she at a bar? Was she overserved somewhere? That's potential liability. What happened in this building? Was there inadequate safety at the building itself where she was able to plummet 18 stories? What was the situation like up there? Who else was up there? And did somebody else cause this, or could they have intervened? But I think his firm's going to track this thing minute by minute to try to identify every possible responsible party, even if it's only a teeny bit of responsibility.
In cases like this where you see high-profile attorneys get involved, and I'm not sure what the financial situation was of Brianna Aguilera's family, but typically high-profile attorneys and the type of money that it would cost to do an investigation like that could six figures, if not more. I mean, typically for someone like Busby, if the client is a middle-class family, what does he get out of it? Just from a legal, kind of just being in the business of law, what does he get out of being involved in this?
Well, that kind of firm has ordinarily, and I don't know about his firm specifically, I've never seen the finances, but I'm assuming they do a huge amount of their work on a contingency basis. So they have lots of cases where they represent the plaintiff and they dig into the facts and they investigate and they invest some of their own money to find out if there's a good claim there. And what they get is a very large portion of any recovery, maybe a third, maybe 40%, maybe more, plus expenses paid, if they can recover. And a firm like his will take a huge number of cases knowing that only some of them are going to pay off. But the price of doing business, the cost of doing business, is to undertake the investigation. The other thing for an attorney like Busby is high profile means publicity. You and I are talking about him this morning. That's what he wants more than anything, Chris, is he wants us to be talking about him so other people walk through the doors of his law firm when they have a potential claim in his neck of the woods. So it benefits him even if the case doesn't go anywhere. And if the case does go somewhere financially, he will find a way to get paid.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely someone where, I also think of like Alan Jackson in criminal defense, right? Like when he takes on a new case, especially after Karen Reed, that's news. And in this one, last night when I saw that he was taking on this case, I think back to all the coverage we did for Sean Diddy Combs because he was involved in a lot of civil cases that have been brought against Diddy, accusing him of sexual assault, sexual misconduct in civil court. What makes him so good? Like these attorneys, like when you look at someone like him, like what skill does he have beyond just the resources that his law firm now has? What makes him better than, kind of the average lawyer who might be in the same type of law?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I've never seen Busby in court, and I don't want to assume he's good, bad, or medium. I just don't know how he is in the courtroom, which is the number one way I assess lawyers. How are they on their feet? I will say that he's excellent at marketing. Again, we're talking about him. Lots of people have talked about him in the last year. Not all of it has been good, but there are very prominent people who say any publicity is good publicity. So even if there are pieces talking negative about him, the fact is that his name is being mentioned, and that leads to more business. And when you're running a law practice like his, everything is about how many clients come through that front door. And he's doing a very good job of getting his name out there and getting prominent matters to come through the front door. What else he does, I don't have enough information about.
When we just generally now, well, I guess specifically talking about this case, Brianna Aguilera, and it, to her mom's credit in some ways, and I'm sure the police department isn't thrilled about it, like she has been very vocal in saying what she believes, and she believes that she is fighting for justice for her daughter. She believes that that there's information that hasn't been passed on, that her questions aren't being answered, and the case is picked up, and there's a lot of attention on it. Again, police have said they don't believe that this is a homicide, or there's no evidence at this point that there is. But now she's at the point where you have a high-profile lawyer involved. What do you make of just how Brianna Aguilera's family, which, they're facing this incredibly terrible tragedy that no one would want. What's your assessment of how they've gone about this? Not to judge one way or another, but just the impact that it seems to have on the investigation and the attention that this story is getting.
So from what I've read, I think that her mother in particular was reacting from the suggestion that the young woman took her own life. And the mother is saying, that's not possible. I know her. That's not her. And by the way, it doesn't make any sense that during this celebratory day with a big football game and she's a cheerleader and all this stuff going on, that she would have purposefully taken her life. So we can rule that out. So now we have accident, and if it's an accident, I want to know more. How could there have been an accident? What were the causes? But we also have the possibility that something more insidious happened, that there was an accident involving other people, or there was something purposeful involving other people. And I also think her mother is saying law enforcement is not looking carefully enough. They are basically saying to me, this is tragic, it's horrible, but stuff happens. And we don't think it's foul play, so there's nothing for us to do. And that's not sufficient for the mother. She wants answers. So I have no problem with her going public with that position. I have no problem with her bringing in a high-powered attorney to look into it for her. I think that's a potentially good way of approaching it.
And then I think of the people that she was around that day, when she died and allegedly fell from this like 17th floor balcony. Her mom says it was like a party of like 15 people in the apartment. Her mom has shared pictures from that day and she's with friends. What would your advice be to people who know that they came in touch with Brianna Aguilera at some point in that day, potentially in that apartment, and also knowing now that Tony Busby's involved?
Well, I would say if you have any information that's relevant to this, you should get in touch with the authorities and or with Tony Busby's office. I mean, I would get in touch with the authorities if I knew anything at all about the specifics, because they're trying to put together the narrative and understand exactly what happened. So if you saw anything, even if you don't think it was terribly important, you should put your hand up and let the authorities know. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, no, very, very well said. Very sad case at the end of it, just for this young woman who lost her life. We'll see where the investigation goes from here. Police very defiant in believing that this was not a homicide. Brianna Aguilera's family saying otherwise. We'll see how it plays out. Rich Schoenstein, trial lawyer, thank you as always for taking the time to be with us on Law and Crime. We appreciate it.
Good to be here.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.